Civilization 6. This is Sid Meier's Civilization 6, published by Firaxis or 2K Games, published on October 25th, 2016. It is on all platforms at the moment, including the Nintendo Switch. It's also on iPad as well, also on Android tablets as well. A really cool game. I played the first Civilization, was one of my first turn-based strategy games going back to the 80s. Yes. And Civilization was the first time I realized, oh, I love that whole sort of god complex megalomaniac game. It is a game that where you start your own civilization. There are tons of them right now, especially in 6. And you start all the way back in the BC days, go all the way into the future, and there's loads of conditions to win. Culture, military, there's a science victory as well. You can create your own custom maps, custom conditions for winning the game. This is multiplayer as well. You can play this PBEM, which is a play by email as well, which is kind of cool, like an asynchronous way, which takes like months for people to finish games, but some people do that. It's a game for somebody who likes strategy, who likes the idea of empire building. It's definitely not for somebody who likes action games or who likes a game that can be played in a short time, because most Civilization games take at least 40 hours plus. I played this when it came out. Coincidentally, this is one of the last games that I pre-ordered, and I played this and I got totally beat down by the Chinese, and I'm like, nope, 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 not gonna play this again. This is one of those games I wanted to get back to. So pick this up now. It's on sale. Whatever platform you like to play it on, it runs great on my iPad Pro. It runs pretty good on the Switch, I've heard. In docked mode, it does not run great in handheld. Definitely a cool game for those of you looking for something relaxing, because again, there's combat itself is very low key. The strategy elements are very low key. It's one of those games you can save scum as well, which I've talked about in a previous episode. So if you want to try something like invading the Persians, you can invade the Persians and see, actually, did your strategy work out? If it didn't work out, just reload your other game. So I like this. This is one of those games that I'd love to play after work at some point when I am free. Adam, have you ever played a Civilization game?
Actually, Civ 6 was my first Civilization game.
No way!
Yeah, it was my first one. It's also one of my first. What are these games called? The not D6. Uh, these kind of hexagon kind of map games. I forget what they're called.
There's probably a term that you've heard of that I've never heard of.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, there's a term for these kind of hexagon based games. But yeah, this was pretty much one of my first of those, and it was definitely my first Civ game. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It does take a very long time, though. I was playing with my friend and his brother, and it would be one of those things where we would play, maybe 2 hours every week, and it took us 2 months, I think, just to play a single round. Now, do you have a specific victory that you personally tend to go for, like science or military or culture? Or
Oh, I've mentioned that to you before. My first Civilization, I had just got into RTS strategy games then, and that was the game where you crush your enemies. So my first Civilization game, I've told this story to my students as well, is where I played a game with 7 other people, and the way I won is just I nuked everybody. Had built this awesome economy, and in the original Civilization, as you nuke people, your population becomes dissatisfied, and you lose resources and stuff. Becomes land becomes unfarmable, unworkable. But I just nuked everybody, and everybody just gave up, and I took over their cities, and I won. That's just what I won. And in Civilization, all anteceding Civilization games, I've tried to go for the military victory. I've always wanted to do culture. I've always wanted to do a science victory. I'm gonna play Civilization 6 again eventually, and I want to do something other than that. What about you? Who did you play with in Civilization 6?
you mean which culture?
Yes.
I really like the Cree, actually.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I liked. Now, I have played. I've only ever won against the computer. I've never won against another player. I've done military victories. I've done science victories as the Germans, but I really like the Cree just because they have some pretty good buffs to diplomacy. but also the fact that when they build roads, as their caravans move along the roads, it'll actually auto claim those tiles, and so you can actually kind of cut out sections of the map pretty quickly and get yourself a lot of land.
I
So
didn't know
that
that.
was, yeah. Well, they were in the first expansion. They weren't in the base game. They were included, I think, in the first expansion. So I really do like them, but they do tend to be, because of their diplomacy, they do tend to be good for, or better, I should say, for cultural victories. But I am terrible at culture victories. I am not good at developing that. So I like that. I don't know what you call them. What would you civilization? I guess their nationality.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I haven't been able to win with them yet, unfortunately. So yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But typically, I think I would normally kind of gear for the science victory.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now in Civ 6, they got rid of the diplomacy victory, right? Or is
Um,
that back?
that is back with again a later expansion,
Okay.
and there's also religious victory as well, which I should have mentioned as well,
Ah,
which
yes.
became a sticking point later on in the game.
Oh, what do you mean by sticking point?
Um, some people complain that again, this is sort of like a political thing. Religion is bad. There shouldn't be a religious victory, and it's people complained on 2K's Twitter, on their own Civ 6 forums as well. But I mean, 2K being the big company they are, they didn't care.
Yeah, I find that kind of odd where they're saying a religious victory is bad, but you can nuke the entire world and that's perfectly acceptable.
Yes, yes, yes. That is a gigantic contradiction, but that's how the people on the internet are.
It's just weird. If I remember correctly, the religious victory is you have to have all the nations in the world have to be predominantly your religion, or
Exactly, exactly.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, if everybody's on the same page, then